What's good people? It's your boy CJ Randolph, and this is the Just a Messenger podcast. And today we have a special guest. Now, just wanted to let y'all know that the beginning of April, or the month of April, is Deaf History Awareness Month.
Deaf History Month. Deaf History Month.
Oh, well, you know it better than me, so exactly.
Well, actually, you know what I just found out?
What?
Hey, everyone.
Oh,
I'm Rosalinda. Hey. I just found out, and I think this is beautiful because you're supposed to learn something every day, right?
right.
So I'm doing some research to kind of prepare for this because that's who I am, right? And it looks like Deaf History Month actually starts in the middle of March and goes through the middle of April. And it's significant because of things that happened during the middle of March through the middle of April in various years. So,
Really?
Yeah, so we're now in the midst of Deaf History Month, which is so cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
I know.
Right?
It's so cool. But I think for the majority, people just say, April. Is that what we're going into? Yes, April is Deaf History Month. And I think there's another month for deaf awareness, I think.
Oh, see, my dyslexia just mixed it
so
all
you were
together.
like, we just going to celebrate it all.
We're going to have awareness of deaf
It's
history
all good.
and deaf history.
It's all
and
good.
awareness.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. It's all good. But I thought it was cool that you wanted me to come on and kind of talk about just what I know in regards to deaf history, deaf culture, deaf awareness. We could talk about all that. But yeah, let's start off by just saying Happy Deaf History Month. Woohoo! I may do some signs from time to time.
Please.
In my little bubble right here, I will try to sign. But yeah, this is cool. Do you like my shirt?
Of course.
Can y'all see my shirt?
It says be kind.
It says be kind.
And it's all in sign.
In
Bars.
ASL. ASL. So it's BEKIND. Be kind.
Yeah.
And you have a cool shirt too.
Yes.
We're kind of matching y'all because we're that type of couple.
Ha.
We so cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
And I got this from the homie. I just look at it as together we can lift more, right? And so that's the way I look at it.
I love it.
Got the fist
He has the fist
colors,
in
right?
all different colors.
Yeah.
I love it. Unity, togetherness.
Unity. Why?
See, I was thinking a different song. We're all in this together.
No, thank you. No problem, Lou.
But the fact that we both went to a song. Sometimes we're on the same wavelength. Sometimes.
I had to take it Queen Latifah, old school. I
Yeah.
can't finish the song.
Yeah.
Got a couple of. I can, but it's explicit, so I try to stay away from that.
But the
You
message.
went Disney.
Yeah, I went Disney. I went straight rated G. Anyone can sing that whole song. So we're on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. So, of course, the reason that I definitely wanted you to be able to enlighten us about deaf history is because I actually saw you go through different courses and things like that you were like, oh, did you know about this?
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And it was really cool I'm a history buff. I just love learning about knowledge and wisdom and stuff like that.
You're so good with history.
And so learning deaf history, just like, things that you never even would imagine, because
You don't think about it unless it's a part of your life. So if you're in the community, then you know certain things. But if not, then it's not like it's taught in schools. It's not a part of our curriculum, which is interesting because that is a part of our history that happened here.
Right.
But yeah, as I was going through different courses and just talking to different people throughout the community, I would come across things and I didn't know about it, even though both my parents are deaf.
Right.
I mean, they can only teach me what they know. And they only know what was taught to them. So, there's that aspect of you have information based off of your family history. But if you come from a family where, for both of my parents, they were the only deaf people. in their family. So there was like this huge communication barrier. So they don't know too much about their history because no one was able to use their language to explain it to them. And then depending on the type of school or education they received, they may have gotten some information on deaf history, maybe from their peers and maybe not. So I know some things just based off of what my parents taught me. And then other things I just learned throughout life, just trying to always learn more. And I don't like history, but I'm horrible with history, but I'm very interested in like where I came from and the history of what brought my parents together and how all that came to be. So as I looked into that, my own personal history, and then also trying to just sharpen my own skills, taking different courses, I came across a lot of interesting facts. And yes, I'd be like, CJ, did you know? Like, CJ, guess what? And it's like mind-blowing, significant things that happen within the deaf community just here in the United States that no one really knows about unless you're in the deaf community. So
so we're going to bring awareness to it.
I see how you did that.
See, I'm going to mix it in
Very
there.
good.
I was
Very
somewhat
good.
right.
Very good. So, I wanted to like have all my facts right and get my dates and this and that.
Yes.
But then I didn't want to stress out about it because what I want, it's like, don't stress over it. It's like, because I was going to have my notes out and like, on this day, this person did this, and in this year. But I'm like, I don't think people really care too much on the month, the date, the name of the person.
Right.
Unless that's the type of person you are, and that's fine. I think more people are just like, wait, what happened?
Right.
Oh, that actually happened. And then if you're interested in it, you can, in your own time, just dive into it and really get the details of it. So everything I say today is just based off of my memory, what my parents told me, and what I've come across in my own research and different courses. And it's not a lot. I just kind of want to bring a little bit of awareness to what happened to the deaf community in regards to our history. Because as I said, nobody really knows about it.
Yeah.
And then maybe to also talk about some common questions that I get, and just to bring some clarity to sign language. I'll just go right into like the first one.
Yes.
A lot of people think sign language is universal.
No.
It kind of makes sense, right? But no, absolutely not. There is American Sign Language. There's
Black American Sign Language.
There's Black now. That's different too, and that's something I came across as an adult. So there's like dialectal differences, even within American Sign Language. If you come from another country, there's like Russian Sign Language. Right. I don't know. There's so many different types of sign language. So it's not universal. So what we use here in the United States of America is American Sign Language, which I think is, I guess I'm biased, but it's beautiful. I think all sign language is beautiful, especially if you're one that loves to like, let's just say you like to read nonverbal cues or like body language. Mm-hmm. You come across American Sign Language, which is an official language in itself by definition. ASL is a language. It's just so beautiful. At times it can be very poetic, and there's been times I've watched people sign and I just get goosebumps because it's just like I feel what you're saying. Right. Yes. I'm getting goosebumps now. Oh, like I can feel what they're saying. Yeah. And I don't even have to know every single sign that they're doing. I don't even have to know like the words, but I get the whole message. Right. Especially when I've come across some people who are very poetic and artistic with their signs. Yes. Storytellers. Oh my gosh, I can watch a storyteller and just pure ASL and just be like, I wish I could share this, but I can't because you can't translate it into English. Right. And I can't be like, I'm like, you just, if you know, you know, right? You just gotta know. Right, so yeah. It's a beautiful thing. So that's the first thing a lot of people assume is ASL is universal. And just recently I came across some well-intentional people who wanted to do missions work. And they're going to go to a deaf school in another country. Yeah. And they're like, and so my first question was, well, what sign language do they use? And they're like, well, you know, the universal ASL. And I was like, hold on. I don't know. No, it's not universal. Like maybe they do ASL, but it's not because it's universal. That's just what they decide to teach in their deaf school. Yeah, and that was
so back to the ASL, and even like me not growing up in the deaf community, but knowing some signs and knowing just how when you piece everything together, it's like a picture.
Yeah.
Like everything is like, oh, I challenge anybody that hasn't really seen ASL to actually watch someone, talk in ASL or sign in ASL, and have them understand that you'll understand some stuff, because it's like a picture. It's like a picture being painted, just without being said.
At times, yeah. At times you don't even have to know the word, but you can like, is she trying to describe this? And
right.
Sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't.
Correct.
So, but it's a beautiful thing, and I love it so much. I'm trying to think. A lot of times people will even ask me, how I know sign language, and it's because both my parents are deaf, but it's my first language, which is hard for people to grasp. But I signed before I spoke because it's easier for babies to actually sign than to figure out how to move their lips and their tongues and breathe and vocalize and articulate a word. It's much easier to just say instead of mama, right? And this was my baby sign. This is mama, but my mom said I went like this. So we have baby signs too. Like there's a hierarchy, like how kids will have baby talk. Kids that do sign language or deaf children will do baby signs. It's so cute. So cute, so cute.
Yeah. So with that, because I know when Gabe and Gideon were born and stuff like that, that was something. And I see a lot of parents always say, well, yeah, it's easier to sign more at first when you're younger, even if you're not in the deaf community, for communication purposes.
Oh, yeah.
And then you kind of grow out of that, and then you stop signing, right?
Well, yeah, because at that point you find you go into your native language, and you speak what the majority around you speaks. But there are a lot of kids who are nonverbal and hearing. So there's different terms. If you're hearing, that means you're like me and CJ, like we can hear and we can speak. And then you have those who are deaf. If you ever see it written out with a capital D, that means it's someone who's proud of their deaf heritage, and they've accepted themselves into the community. So they're, I'm deaf and I'm proud. Yeah. If you see a lowercase d, it's just talking about the medical condition that they, that they're unable to hear. So I have, I'm an SOP, a speech therapist, and I have some patients who are nonverbal, but they're hearing. So they can hear, but they can't speak. And so instead of trying to force them to speak, which depending on the diagnoses, you can't just force someone to speak. You can use sign language as a means for them to express themselves. So you can talk to them, you can ask them a question. They're unable to articulate and answer back, but they're able to sign something back. And so if you know sign language, that's a huge benefit to just basic communication, because at the end of the day, we want to communicate with others, and it can look differently. It can be through spoken language, it can be through written language, it can be through pictures. Some people communicate through pictures, or those communication devices where they just point to a word and it speaks for them. And then we have some people, that sign. So communication is the foundation.
Communication is the foundation.
It is. Communication is awesome. Yeah. So so I signed before I spoke, and I actually had to go to speech therapy because my speaking models, which were my parents, wasn't clear English, I guess. So like my dad has a voice, he can vocalize, but he can't like articulate words. And then my mom, she can talk, but she talks with the deaf grammar. And a lot of her words she doesn't pronounce the way it should be pronounced in English. So those were my speaking models, and because of that, I think I just had like a delay in how I spoke, so I had to go to speech therapy. And I didn't know this until I was in the speech program. Like I don't even remember. I don't even remember. And it was the same school. Like the university I went to was the university I went to have speech therapy. And I go through some records, and I'm like,
oh, look at
as in like my graduate program. I'm like, I came here as a student. What? And this is where I'm getting my degree. So
full circle.
But I think it's so cool. But yeah, so another thing I kind of found out is that the reason we celebrate Deaf History Month in the middle of March through the middle of April is, a lot of people don't know this, but there's a university called Gallaudet University that was established. Okay, I did look this one up. I think it's 1864 or something like that, but that's how long ago it was established. And it's a university made for those who are deaf, and everyone there has to sign. All the professors sign, they're all deaf. The president now is deaf, but another huge thing that is a beautiful thing for the deaf community and deaf history is that a little after I was born, late 80s, is when Gallaudet University had its very first deaf president. So even though it was established back in 1860 something, they always had a hearing president. And the community and the students kind of had a protest,
right? And
they're like, no, we want a deaf president. Like, a deaf president is actually a better fit and can do this job better than a hearing person. And ever since then, from my understanding, we've had a deaf president at Gallaudet University. So there's so many people in the deaf community, especially young people, who come from hearing parents that don't even know this university exists. Right. This is in Washington, D.C. It's a legit university, and this is where I did some of my classes through Gallaudet University. Right. And oh my gosh, it's one of the hardest classes I ever had to take. Yes. I mean, taking courses by a professor that does pure ASL the whole time. I mean, my skill was like, I got better and better, but it was very hard. But it was a beautiful thing to just be in the midst of people and just silent. It's silent, but you're having conversations, you're learning this and that, you're going back and forth, and it's just silent. It's just a beautiful thing. I absolutely love it. But so yeah, that happened somewhere between like March and April. Okay. So that's a big thing, that they got their first deaf president, and also the university was established in 1860 something between like March and April. Okay. So I think there's maybe one other big event that happened during that time frame, and that's why it's celebrated Deaf History Month during those dates. Cool. It kind of overlaps. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, so let's jump back a little bit into your history, because I know you're kind of giving us a little deaf history and stuff, but then also I want people to have a foundation on what it really looks like, especially being a CODA. So how kind of was that experience of having two deaf parents?
Yeah, CODA.
And that being your first language.
Right. So here's a fun fact. I didn't even know what CODA meant till I moved here to Texas. I don't think I ever told you that.
No, you didn't. I knew what CODA meant before you.
You never know. Well, it's interesting because our foundation of when we met, you knew what a CODA was, and I didn't believe you because most people don't know what a CODA is. I know, right? And you knew what an SOP was. Points. So a CODA is a child of a deaf adult. So yes, I'm a CODA, but I guess I never came across any other CODAs growing up. And I don't know. No one ever said anything to me about being a CODA. But after I moved here, I was at work one day, and there was a mom who had a deaf child, and she was like an OT or PT. And she was like, so hey, you're here. You're one of the new SOPs. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, so you're a CODA? And I thought she was still talking about like some type of assistant, because we have SOPAs, and then we have OTs and OTs. So I was like, CODA? I was like, I gave her this look. She was like, child of a deaf adult. I was like, oh, yeah. Yes, I'm a CODA. Yeah, I'm a CODA. But I just never used that term. But yes, that's what it is. So growing up as a CODA, to me, it's normal because I have nothing to compare it to. Right. But now as an adult and just knowing how other people have grown up, I can see how my life might have been different. Might have been a little bit different. So not only am I a CODA, but I'm the firstborn of my parents. So the firstborn usually has a different hat than the rest of the kids, right?
Agreed.
So it was mainly me being the interpreter for my parents everywhere we went.
Yeah.
Everywhere we went. So I could be at school, I could be at the doctor's office, at a restaurant. I was the interpreter for my parents. Didn't know this at this young age that by law, a lot of these facilities were required to provide an interpreter for my parents, but that would cost them money. Mm-hmm. So they didn't say anything to me, and they just allowed me to interpret. Can I tell you, I was up in like in courts, in the courthouse interpreting. I was at the medical office, doctor's appointments interpreting, and I was not supposed to be doing that, y'all, because by law, you know, you have to have access to medical care in your primary language, and you can't depend on your like 12-year-old daughter.
And I think that's an important part of actually knowing your history, and knowing if you would have known that, be like, no, like you need to have somebody else here.
Yeah, so like if my parents would have known that, they would have they'd have been like, no, my rights are X, Y, and Z.
Correct.
But they didn't know their rights until I became an adult, and I found that out, and I'm like, Mom, Dad, this is every time you go, you demand an interpreter, or you let them know up front that I'm deaf, I'm hard of hearing, I need an interpreter, and it's on them to find the interpreter. And they do that now, but they didn't know. Yeah. They didn't know. So
that part reminds me, I'm gonna give a shout out to the movie CODA.
Come through, CODA.
That I know she cried buckets and buckets.
Goodness.
Listen, I'm gonna rat you out. You cried buckets and buckets.
It was the ugly cry too. I have a cute cry. I could not cute cry during this movie. It was
but
it was but it was so good.
Yeah, and me watching it, I was like, oh, this is how she grew up. And like some of the medical stuff.
Y'all, watch this movie CODA. It is, I was watching my life on the movie screen. Yeah. I mean, there's slight differences of like I didn't live on where was it, from Maine? I think it was Maine. So my parents were like fishermen or anything like that, like small differences. But the majority of that movie, it was just like, y'all see me.
Right.
It is. Oh, I love that movie. Please go watch that movie CODA. I don't know if it's only available on Apple, I don't know. Apple TV.
But y'all know how to bootleg stuff, so go ahead, do your thing.
Don't y'all bootleg CODA.
You're right. Let them get their credit.
Yeah.
Still my bad.
I know. I think they got movie.
They got supporting
movie of the year, best actor of the year. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that movie.
No, but it is every accolade and plus more worth it. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
We should watch it again today.
We should.
Mm-hmm. And then
get
tomorrow.
The tissues ready.
And then the next day. And then I could watch this like every day. It's so good. Very good movie. But yeah, that's what CODA is.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of my upbringing.
What is one thing that you learned of the history that kind of gave you, like, made you maybe like take a step back and reevaluate some things, or maybe just maybe get angry about it? I don't know, like got you emotional?
I see. I was trying to talk about all the good stuff.
Getting to your Carl Thomas.
I'm emotional. See, we was on the same song for that one, but you gave me a clue for that one. Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Do you know who Alexander Graham Bell is?
Yes.
What did he do?
Did he telephone?
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
He did something else too.
I know.
You know? Because I told you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if you guys want to look up the history of Alexander Graham Bell, I'm here to just tell y'all facts, okay? Mm-hmm. But he kind of viewed people who are deaf as almost like a disease, like or a defect, and he wanted to help the human race by getting rid of this defect. So he was I don't know if he created it or he just supported it, but there's this thing called oralism, where you teach deaf children how to speak, and they are not allowed to use their hands. They are not allowed to sign. Yeah. And you make them speak, and you make them learn how to lip read so that they can fit into the community. And for a very long period of time, ASL was like a no-no. Like, you can't sign. So my parents used to tell me stories of, I don't know if it was them or friends or people before them, but just imagine some kids in the classroom and they're forced to sit on their hands. They're forced to sit on their hands so that they don't sign.
Yeah.
And they're forced to learn and communicate and do everything. And if they use their hands, I mean, this is back in the day, they would get popped. Oh, I don't like that. But yes, right. So for a very long period of time, you couldn't sign. And it got to the point where I believe he put out a paper where he wanted to prevent deaf people from marrying other deaf people so they wouldn't produce more deaf kids, because that would be bad for the human race. So
I didn't know about that.
Yeah. I found that out because I was pursuing career advancements. I'm using my words wisely.
All right.
I want to be a person as a speech therapist that can help any and all types of children, but my passion is the deaf community. Right. So any of my hard of hearing kids, I want to help you, and that could be maybe we do sign language, or it could be, well, we maybe do a little bit of sign language and you can hear somewhat, so maybe we can work on English and sign language. That's more like a total communication approach. And then we have some kids that go through a surgical procedure where instead of a hearing aid, they have a cochlear implant. Right. And for those kiddos, we can actually teach their brain how to process the new sounds, and they can learn how to speak, and they can learn how to listen effectively enough to communicate in a spoken language, right. i.e. English. All that being said, if you go to the deaf community and you ask them, there's very strong opinions about what to do with children who are deaf. And I am not here to say one side is right and one side is wrong. I'm just here to say there is a spectrum. There are some people that say you should never do anything surgically, medically with a child who is deaf. Let them be deaf, let them learn sign language, let them grow in their community. That's one side of the spectrum. Right. Other side of the spectrum feels like we should do any and everything medically possible to help this child be more accepted in society. And society is mostly a spoken world. So right. I think you have some people there in the middle. I think I have parents that are supportive of me and my decision to just help everybody on this spectrum. Right. And I really try to, in my profession, I don't make one person lean more one way than another. I do give as many facts as I can, and I say, this is what it is, this is what the research shows, and then what do you think is best for your family? That's just how I am. And there's a lot of people in the deaf community that don't even agree with that. They just right. think you should be, and that's fine. I respect everyone and their opinion. But if it is Deaf History Month, then we do. If even if the professionals that are working with children who are deaf, families who are deaf, it would be good to know deaf history, because then you would know why a family is so passionately correct. On one side of the spectrum right. than the other, and you can respect that. I can respect that. We don't need to argue about this. No, I don't need to tell you you're wrong or right. Like, okay, I respect that. But yeah, so when I found that out, I stopped pursuing a certain route because I just didn't want that history connected to who I am as a professional. I didn't want that name connected to me in the deaf community, and that's just my choice. Yeah. Not just and for those who want to, no judgment here, but I'm gonna do what I think is best for me and my family and my kids and my patients. That's correct. What I'm gonna do. And the history of it is, he designed one choice that he thought was best for the whole community. And now we've advanced to where you have options, and then now you have that choice. And I think, once again, knowing that history, now that you have options, you have a much better understanding on your own choice and how you move, and if that's through emotions and historical context, or is that through different possibilities that you may see. I don't know. I just know that when you have options, then it's a much better a thing for you, and for you to prepare for your family also for the future. I mean, no one just wants to be forced to do anything. I mean, especially when it comes to your kids and how you're going to raise them and what schools they go to. So no one wants to be put in a position where you have no choice at all. Choices are good, but also the advancement and the knowledge that over the years we've come to understand sign language as a language in itself, and it's not just a compensatory strategy or something like that. It's a language in itself, and it's okay for someone to be completely fluent in ASL, be deaf, and want to be a teacher, or want to be an actor, or want to be a race car driver. Like, that's okay. So I think the more we know about the deaf community, about its history, and not just that, but we actually interact with people in the deaf community. I mean, we're not just talking about them. Let's try to, I always want to bridge this gap between the hearing world and the deaf world. Like, I think we can definitely come together. I wish everyone could learn sign language. Right. I just think it'd be beneficial to everyone. If that was like a requirement in school, then you and I, we could be at some theme park with our 10,000 kids and grandkids, and they could be way down yonder, and I need to tell them something, but they can't hear me, and the phone's not working. I could like just sign, but like, let's go. I gotta go to the restroom. It's an emergency. Let's go. Yeah. Let's go. That would be. It's just a cool thing for people to have. So
I mean, we had that example last night when we were out for dinner.
Yeah.
And the music's all loud. I'm like,
yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Do you like your risotto?
I'm like, what? What'd you say? Yeah, you go to places and the music is nice music, but it's so loud that you can't have a conversation. Yeah. Even the musician, he noticed us, and he was like, is somebody over there signing? And I was like, I am signing. And then, y'all, it was so funny. He doesn't know sign language, but this goes back to where you saying, even though you don't know it, sometimes you can figure it out. He was asking for requests. Yeah. And who's my favorite singer, producer, writer of all time? It's okay, babe, say it.
Donald Jones. Babyface.
Babyface, right? So he put a request on. Now, there's not a sign for babyface. You spell it out. But I said, baby face. He was like, what? I was like, baby face. He was like, baby. Oh, got you. I got you. And then he played one of my favorites.
You got that.
The whip appeal. All because we knew a little bit of sign language.
Just because. And the interesting thing is most communication is nonverbal.
Yes.
Just being able to interpret what someone is saying through that. And that's why I think ASL is so beautiful, because it allows that creativity to be connected with your own understanding of that word. Like dog. It's like a snap, like you would snap at a dog,
snap. Mm-hmm.
And the different animals, and even I remember you showing me that absolutely beautiful poem that you couldn't describe to me.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, is that a tree growing? You're like,
yeah,
you get it.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like, how could I not get it in a way? It's just like it's so done beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also, there's one thing that I've learned in my own way of trying to learn is like all the facial stuff. It's just like, whew.
Yeah.
That's what I struggle with, because I'm too busy trying to concentrate on my fingers doing the right thing. You're like, you're supposed to raise your eyebrows.
Sign language is not just the hands. It's the body position. It's the eyebrows. It's the mouth. There's like mouth morphemes where if you do like that means something is small, and if you go like, that means it's big. I mean, this is very basic, y'all, but you have to use your whole body to sign. So I think the more, I sign, I feel like at a pretty good level. I understand at a pretty good level, but I don't feel like I've made it. Like, there's so much I can still learn. Yeah. And I could perfect this language and this craft, especially the poetic side of it, which at first I thought sign language, mostly in the deaf community, was very literal. Everything was literal. But now
that's right.
There's poems and songs and storytelling. And I'm just like, this is amazing. It's amazing. But if you just think about it, even in English, you could say the exact same thing 2 different times with your body language being different. It completely changes the message. Like, I love you. Right? That's a different.
Right.
Or, I love you. It changes the whole meaning, your body. So the same thing happens in sign language. Your eyes, your lips can change.
I love
you. Better stop. You better stop it. I know you do, babe. I love you too. I love you. Oh, and this is a big thing in deaf community.
Yes.
Like how we say hi and bye. It doesn't matter if I just met you. We done with our conversation.
Love.
I love you. I love you. And it's a combination of like the I, the L, the Y. I love you.
Yeah.
So you'll see that everywhere.
Cool. So with all of this wonderful knowledge and wisdom that you've been dropping on us about deaf history, what is the message that you want to put out to the world right now?
Can my message be a request?
Even better.
Yes, I have a request.
I'm not involved.
Oh, you're involved. This is a request for the world. My message / request would be for us to be more intentional about learning other people's history. I just think, and I have to do it myself too. I'm so into my history, but if you come from a family that only comes from one part of history, you don't know about someone else, and knowing is half the battle, right? Knowledge is power. So I just think if we're more intentional about, let me look up, this history and that history, or just go talk to someone who's from a different culture or community, or just from a different place, and just ask them about their history. I mean, I think you'd be very surprised with the information you get, because again, we don't get a lot of this in school. No. And it's probably impossible to put all of our history in some type of curriculum outside of just highlighting and summarizing, but I think it's on us to be responsible for our own knowledge of history and how we apply that in life now. So I think that would be my request, and I think it would be good for everybody. And then go ahead and learn some sign language.
And go learn some sign language.
Go learn some sign language. And
don't go straight to the cuss words.
Don't, guys, no, just don't do it.
You already pretty much know what those are anyway.
Listen, the way that's the first thing people ask me. And I was raised by two wholesome, wonderful angels. So I don't know any cuss words. I mean, people had to, I don't know.
Your dad did sign something,
but it's not a cuss word in sign language.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. See, even that.
Another thing.
It's not even in sign language or ASL. That's not a cuss word. That's just okay.
That's
but
just
yeah,
the sign.
But there's so many free resources online. You can actually go to Gallaudet University and just type in free ASL. And they have all these videos where you can learn by different topics. You can learn all the vegetables. You can learn all the fruits. You can learn pronouns. You can learn WH questions. And it's just very straightforward, simple videos where they just show you how to do the signs. So I think that's fun. And to do it together as a family, so you're all learning. And I will say this, if you have anyone who is deaf or hard of hearing in your family, please learn. It doesn't have to be the whole language. You don't have to be fluent in ASL, but to learn some so that you can communicate with them makes a world of difference. Like in my dad's side of the family, no one learned sign language outside of his mom, and that was just the alphabet. Yeah. So their whole life, she spoke to him in letters. She just spelled everything out. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine that? So yeah, it's just. I just wish everybody did sign language. Just go learn it, but it's also fun and beautiful. And
your request and your message is exactly why this podcast exists, so that we can learn from each other, right? I mean, our message is to spread love, hope, joy, and peace, and try to change the world with one message at a time, right? Yeah. And so that's the whole thing is bring people on to be messengers to the world, and hopefully someone takes a little something from it. And actually doesn't just listen, but doesn't just listen or say, but actually goes and does it.
Get some action out of this.
Because action is the only thing that gets the ball moving. Action is the only thing that gets us to be unified and to be kind, right?
Okay.
So, I'm gonna try to mix it all up.
I love it. You wrapped it all together.
Now that I'm aware.
Very good husband.
So, thank y'all for coming here. This is just the Messenger podcast, so we really appreciate it. Just know that you are special. You are cared for. you are loved. And so, go and care for somebody.
Yeah.
Go and show love.
Mm-hmm.
And go and let somebody else know that they're special.
Absolutely.
So, once again, we're here to just change the world with one message at a time. Until next time, Selah.
Very good.